I'm Felicia. I'll never forget that fateful night on December 7, 2025, when my parents invited me to a so-called family reconciliation dinner at the prestigious coastal seafood haven in Seattle. As soon as I sat down, I felt the weight of 16 pairs of eyes on me. On my plate lay a sealed envelope. My mother, with a saccharine smile, stood up and announced, "Felicia has prepared an apology for what she's done to this family." My father tapped his glass and said, "Read it out loud, sweetheart." I opened the envelope and my blood ran cold. It wasn't an apology at all. It was a confession written by my mother in my name, branding me a greedy manipulator and a heartless gold digger. It claimed I'd isolated my dying grandmother, brainwashed her, and stolen $892,000 from my own kin to satisfy my greed. They wanted me to publicly admit to destroying the family that raised me. But I wasn't going to let them break me. I calmly raised my hand and called the waiter over. "Could you bring me a microphone? I have a different letter I'd like to share with everyone." What followed wasn't just an exposure of their lies, it was a complete shattering of their false narrative. Let me take you back to how it all began. I've been a nurse in the ICU at Seattle General Hospital for several years. People often ask me how I handle the job, the constant struggle between life and death. I tell them the truth. I learned how to care for the dying by taking care of the person I loved most, my grandmother, Amelia. Grandma Amelia was the light of my life. She raised me in ways my mother, Linda, never did. When I was a child, I came home crying because the kids at school made fun of my clothes. Grandma took me to her cozy cottage in the suburbs and taught me how to bake apple pies. She said meanness was just a mask for people's insecurities, and a warm pie could fix most problems. When I turned 16, my mother, a high-powered real estate broker always busy with clients, forgot my birthday. Grandma showed up at school with a homemade cake and a card that said, "You are loved just as you are, Felicia." That's all that matters. Grandma's cottage was a haven. It had a big front porch with rocking chairs, and the garden was filled with colorful flowers. Her brother, Uncle Henry, a retired mechanic, used to visit every second Sunday. He'd bring a box of donuts and tell stories about their childhood in a small town in Idaho. Grandma's sister, Aunt Rose, a school librarian, came every fourth Saturday. She'd bring a stack of books and spend hours reading to Grandma. I thought Grandma would live forever. But in June 2023, everything changed. I was at work when I got a call from Grandma's cardiologist, Dr. Emily Thompson. She said Grandma had been admitted with severe shortness of breath, and the diagnosis was congestive heart failure. Her heart was only pumping at 30% capacity. With proper care and medication, she might have 1 to 2 years. Dr. Thompson asked if Grandma had family who could help. I looked around the ICU, at the monitors beeping and the ventilators hissing. I thought of an elderly patient whose family hadn't visited in days. "Yes," I said, "she has family." I called my mother first. "Mom, Grandma's in the hospital. She has heart failure. She needs someone to move in and take care of her." There was a long pause. Then she said, "Felicia, I have my own life. I can't just drop everything. You're a nurse, you're trained for this. I'll visit when I can." And she hung up. I called my brother, Ryan, next. He was 24, unemployed, and living in an apartment in the city that my parents paid for while he pursued his latest get-rich-quick scheme, this time in the stock market. "Ryan, Grandma needs help." He replied, "I'm in the middle of something, Felicia. Can this wait? You're the nurse, you can handle it." And he, too, hung up. I sat in the break room for a long time, feeling defeated. My coworker, Lily, found me staring at my phone. "You okay?" she asked. "My grandmother is dying, and my family just dumped the responsibility on me," I said. Lily squeezed my shoulder. "Then I guess you know what you have to do." On July 15, 2023, I packed my bags and moved into Grandma's cottage. Little did I know that my mother would visit only 3 times in the next 18 months, and my brother would never visit at all. My daily routine with Grandma started at 6 a.m. I'd check her oxygen levels, help her to the bathroom, and prepare her medications. Breakfast was always oatmeal with fresh fruit, just the way she liked it. By 8 a.m. I'd help her get dressed, and then we'd spend the morning in the living room. Uncle Henry came like clockwork every second Sunday. He'd pull up in his old pickup truck, carrying those delicious donuts. He'd sit with Grandma and talk about the old days, about how they used to fish in the local creek and how their parents worked hard to make ends meet. Grandma would laugh, a deep, hearty laugh that made her whole body shake. "Felicia," Uncle Henry would say, "you're doing a wonderful job here. I wish I could do more." "You're doing plenty," I'd tell him. "Your visits mean the world to her." Aunt Rose came every 4th Saturday. She'd bring a new stack of mystery novels and do Grandma's nails. They'd talk about the books in the library and the latest neighborhood gossip. Aunt Rose would stay for hours, and when she left, Grandma would hold up her hands and say, "My sister is such a dear. She doesn't have to come, but she does." Meanwhile, my mother's visits were few and far between. The first time was on August 12, 2023. She showed up in the afternoon, carrying an expensive bouquet of flowers. She spent most of the time on her phone, responding to a client who wanted to see a mansion. "Mom, you look great," she told Grandma, even though Grandma had lost weight and was having trouble walking. At 3 p.m. She checked her watch and said, "I have a meeting. I'll try to visit again soon." She never did. The second time was on Thanksgiving 2023. She came with a store-bought turkey and took pictures of herself with Grandma for social media. She posted them with the caption, "So grateful for family today." Then she left right after dinner, without helping with the dishes. The third time was on Christmas Eve 2024. She showed up with a gift card and a generic Christmas card. She seemed annoyed that Grandma was slower than before and had to ask her to repeat herself. At 7:30 p.m. She said, "I have to go. My friends are having a party." My brother, Ryan, never visited. He called 4 times in 18 months. The first call was in August 2023. He asked if Grandma could loan him $5,000 for a sure-fire stock investment. Grandma gently said no. The second call was on Grandma's birthday in October 2023. He talked mostly about himself and how he was about to make a fortune in the stock market. The third call was an accidental but dial on Thanksgiving, and he never called back to say Happy Thanksgiving. The fourth call was on New Year's Day 2024. He asked if Grandma had updated her will. Grandma told him she'd taken care of it. About 3 to 4 weeks before she died, Grandma seemed quieter than usual. She was sleeping more and eating less. I asked Dr. Thompson about it, and she said it was normal for CHF patients in the later stages. "The body is preparing," she said. "Make sure she's comfortable and knows she's loved." One cold morning in December 2024, Grandma woke up and asked me to take her somewhere. "Where?" I asked. "To my lawyer's office. I need to see him today." "Grandma, it's cold out. We can call him." "No," she said. "I need to go in person. This needs to be done right." I helped her into her warm winter coat and drove her downtown to the lawyer's office. The lawyer, Mr. Robert Harris, was an older man with a kind face. He'd been Grandma's lawyer for years. "Mrs. Amelia Thompson," he said, shaking her hand. "It's good to see you. Felicia, would you mind waiting outside for a bit? Your grandmother has requested some privacy." I sat in the waiting room for over an hour. I scrolled through my phone, but my mind was racing. I wondered what Grandma was doing in there. When the door finally opened, Grandma's eyes were red, but she was smiling. "It's done," she said. "Now I can rest easy." "What's done?" I asked. "Something fair, something true. That's all you need to know for now," she replied. 3 to 4 weeks later, on the morning of January 15, 2025, I woke up to check on Grandma. She wasn't breathing. The paramedics arrived, but it was too late. Time of death, approximately 6:15 a.m. Cause, congestive heart failure. I called my mother at 7:15 a.m. "Grandma's gone," I said. There was a long silence. Then she said, "What? When?" "About an hour ago. I was with her." "You should have called me sooner," she said. "I called you as soon as the paramedics confirmed it," I replied. She arrived at 9:30 a.m. 2.5 hours later, even though her house was only 20 minutes away. Uncle Henry arrived at 8:45 a.m. He'd driven through the early morning traffic from his home in the suburbs. When he walked in, his eyes were red. "She went peacefully?" he asked. I nodded, and he sat down in Grandma's favorite chair and cried silently. Aunt Rose arrived at 9 a.m. She brought a homemade casserole and tissues. When my mother finally walked in, she looked around the room as if she was seeing it for the first time. "Oh my God," she said. "When did this happen?" "About 3 hours ago," I said. "You should have called me sooner," she repeated. Uncle Henry looked up and said, "She called you right away, Linda. You just took your time getting here." My mother's jaw tightened. "This isn't the time, Henry. I planned Grandma's funeral alone. My mother said she was too emotional to help, and my father said he'd take care of it but never followed through. Ryan didn't answer his phone. So, I chose the funeral home, arranged the flowers, wrote the obituary, and booked the church for the service. The funeral director asked how I wanted to handle the payment. "I'll cover it," I said. The bill was $15,800, and I put it on my credit card. Uncle Henry found out a few days later. "Felicia, let me help with this," he said. "It's okay, Uncle Henry. I've got it. Your mother should be paying for this." "Amelia was her mother," he said. "I know, but she's not." "So, I am," I replied. He looked at me for a long time and then squeezed my shoulder. "Your grandmother is proud of you. Wherever she is, she knows what you did for her." The funeral was on January 20th, 2025. About 60 people came. My mother gave the eulogy, talking about Grandma's strength and her love for family. I sat in the front row, thinking about her 3 brief visits and the store-bought turkey. Uncle Henry spoke briefly, his voice shaking. "Amelia was my big sister. She taught me so much. In her final months, she was cared for with so much love by Felicia. Thank you, Felicia, for giving her peace." At the reception, Ryan pulled me aside. "When's the will reading?" he asked, not even bothering to ask how I was or express his condolences. "February 10th, at Mr. Harris's office," I said. "Cool. I'll be there," he said and walked away. The will reading was on February 10th, at 2 p.m. 6 of us sat around the long table in Mr. Harris's conference room, me, my mother, my father, Ryan, Uncle Henry, and Aunt Rose. Mr. Harris opened the folder and began reading. "This is the last will and testament of Amelia Thompson, dated December 22, 2024. Mrs. Thompson made this update to her previous will from March 2018. My mother shifted in her seat. Her original will had left everything to her, $892,000 in total, including the cottage and investment accounts. Mr. Harris continued, to my daughter, Linda Thompson, I leave 20% of my estate, approximately $178,400. My mother stood up. What? That's where's the rest? Mr. Harris's expression didn't change. To my granddaughter, Felicia Thompson, who sacrificed 18 months of her life to care for me with love and dedication, I leave 40% of my estate, approximately $356,800. My mother's face went white. This is insane. Mom wasn't in her right mind. We're contesting this. To my brother, Henry Thompson, and my sister, Rose Thompson, I leave 20% each for being the family I could count on. Approximately $178,400 to each. Uncle Henry's mouth fell open. Amelia didn't have to. I never expected. Aunt Rose was in tears. She gave us. Why would she? My mother turned on them. You knew about this? Both of you knew? No, Uncle Henry said quickly. Amelia never told us we were in the will at all. Linda, we had no idea. You and Felicia planned this together. You manipulated her, she accused. Mr. Harris cleared his throat. Mrs. Amelia Thompson had a medical capacity evaluation performed by Dr. Emily Thompson on December 22. She was found to be fully competent. She also recorded a video statement explaining her reasoning. The will is legally sound. Ryan stood up. She manipulated Grandma. All of them did. Grandma had dementia or something. This will is fraud. Mr. Harris calmly replied, your grandmother was evaluated by a physician. She scored perfectly on cognitive tests. She knew the date, her location, and the names of all her family members. She had no signs of dementia or diminished capacity. My mother grabbed her purse. We're getting a lawyer. This isn't over. She walked out, and my father and Ryan followed. Uncle Henry sat back in his chair, looking stunned. I can't believe Amelia did this. I mean, I'm grateful, but she wanted to thank you, I said quietly. Both of you for showing up. Aunt Rose was still crying. We didn't do it for money. We did it because we loved her. I know, I said. That's exactly why she left it to you. That night, my mother left me a voicemail. I hope you're happy, Felicia. You waited until she was dying and convinced her to cut out her own daughter. Grandma would be ashamed of you. We're not going to let you get away with this. It was clear to me then that this wasn't about grief, it was about money. On February 28, 2025, I received a certified letter. Ryan, who'd never visited Grandma in 18 months, had filed a will contest in King County Probate Court. The petition claimed Grandma lacked mental capacity, that I'd exerted undue influence, and that I'd isolated her from her family and manipulated her into changing the will. It was signed by an attorney named Mr. Daniel Reed, a well-known probate litigator. My mother and father had paid his $22,500 retainer. I called Uncle Henry that night. They're contesting the will, I said. I know, he replied. Rose told me. Linda called her this afternoon, screaming about how we all conspired against her. What did Aunt Rose say? I asked. She hung up on her. First time in her life she's ever hung up on anyone. But she said she wasn't going to listen to lies about Amelia. Uncle Henry, this is going to get ugly, I said. I know, he replied. But Felicia, listen to me. Your grandmother knew this might happen. That's why she had Mr. Harris record that video. That's why she got the medical evaluation. She was protecting you. And if they want to fight, we'll fight. I'll testify. I hired an attorney, Miss Sarah Green, who specialized in probate litigation and estate defense. Her retainer was $8,300, and I paid it with the last of my savings. The lawsuit dragged on for 8 months. In March, I was deposed for 6 hours. Mr. Reed asked me about every conversation I'd had with Grandma, every medication I'd given her, and every financial decision. Isn't it true, Miss Thompson, that you moved into your grandmother's home with the intention of isolating her from her family? He asked. No, I replied. I moved in because she needed full-time care and no one else would do it. But you benefited financially from that decision, didn't you? He continued. I benefited by getting to spend her final months with her. The money was never the point, I said. Then why did she leave you 40%? He asked. You'd have to ask her. But since you can't, maybe you should watch the video she recorded explaining it. In April, Uncle Henry gave a voluntary deposition. He wasn't required to, but Miss Green asked him to testify, and he agreed. I read the transcript later.